Radical Islamic terror strikes New York City. Sanfulo Saipan drove a rented truck onto a bike path in New York City, hitting pedestrians and cyclists as he drove a rented van through that bike path. He killed 8 people. He then hit a school bus, injuring at least 2 adults. There were 2 children as well aboard that bus. He brandished a paintball gun and a pellet gun. Authorities responded by shooting. He said, witnesses said he shouted Allahu Akbar. He was shot in the abdomen by the New York police officer. He is hospitalized, and we understand that there are 2 gunshot wounds to the abdomen. This is of course, busy news day in New York, Washington, indeed the nation. House Republican leaders are set to unveil legislation tomorrow to overhaul the tax code. Joining me now, Congressman Jim Jordan. He serves on both the Judiciary and Oversight Committees, a member of the House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, first, your thoughts on this individual who we understand may be from Uzbekistan, in his 20s, attacking in this fashion. Your thoughts?
No, just another illustration of how how evil this terrorist threat is. This and your hearts go out to the families who are impacted. I heard in the previous segment the list of these kind of attacks from terrorists around the world in just the last several months. So again, I think it just highlights just how evil and sick these folks are. But yet, think about our great country. He is now in a hospital, and American surgeons, American doctors are doing everything they can to save him. It shows when this guy deserves the death penalty, he deserves to die, but yet our system, again, it shows you the contrast between what we are as Americans and how evil these terrorists are. So, look, we just got to be ever vigilant and do all we can. And I know the President Trump understands how serious this is, and he's doing everything he can to deal with this worldwide threat from these folks.
And indeed, what he is doing, all that the military can, the U.S. military, at the orders of President Trump, are killing ISIS and have eradicated them from Syria. About 3% of the caliphate is all that remains, with their leaders on the run throughout North Africa and the Middle East. So, and here, an incident, we don't know yet his nationality or where he came from, but there's so much to learn about him. But the fight is going for the first time in a very long time in the right direction.
I agree.
Another fight, and that is with a special counsel. And I want to get to that before we go to tax reform and to the budget. We're looking at, it seems to me, a special counsel who has picked on some rather incidental characters. Your reaction?
Well, it goes clear back to 2005. This is supposedly tax evasion and some failing to fill out forms and misleading the government from Paul Manafort and supposedly his assistant, Mr. Gates. But it goes from 2005 to 2015. So that has nothing to do with the Trump campaign. I think the president was right on target when he and the press secretary talked about this. So look, we have called for what we think was the real big news last week.
Right.
Not the leak, which led to these indictments that we heard about yesterday. But the real big news last week was that Secretary Clinton, her campaign, and the Democrat National Committee paid for this dossier. It looks like the dossier may have been the catalyst for doing the surveillance and doing the wiretapping and doing that. All this happened, paid for by the Clinton campaign, and of course, associated with that Uranium One deal 6-7 years ago, with the extortion and the bribery and the kickbacks and all that there. The person running the FBI at the time, when the FBI fails to tell Congress, fails to tell the country, and it looks like they didn't tell any of the agencies who were ultimately responsible for making the decision on the Uranium One deal. Bob Mueller is running the FBI when all that goes down, and Rod Rosenstein's at the Justice Department overseeing it. I think there's some irony there as well. So I'm glad we're going to look into those issues.
Do you think Rosenstein and Mueller should step aside and the Inspector General, at least until it can be decided on a special counsel, have them step aside where the investigation is carried out? We also have another Inspector General, just as an aside, investigating.
Yeah.
And that's Andrew McCabe, the #2 man at the FBI, who I do not understand how he can be involved in the administration of the agency that now its top officials are so suspect, and the American people cannot have any faith or trust.
Yeah.
The president certainly can't have any confidence in these people. Why in the heck don't they move out?
Right.
And,
Three things.
Of the agency until it can be resolved.
Yeah, Lou, I would say three things need to happen. One, there needs to be a limit. Congressman DeSantis has a bill that would limit the amount of time that Special Counsel Mueller can do this investigation. So it doesn't just go on forever and ever. Second, there should be a special counsel. We sent a letter from the Judiciary Committee 3 months ago asking for a special counsel to look into Secretary Clinton, Mr. Comey, Fusion GPS, Clinton Foundation, all these issues. And then I think third, Congress, and this is going to happen because it was announced last week from the respective chairman, Congress should look into these issues. So we should have investigations into these issues. Clinton, Comey, Lynch, Fusion GPS, dossier, all these things. We should look into all these issues. Well, those three things are what needs to happen so the American people can get the truth.
I've got a preference, and I want to be straightforward with my opinion. I'd much rather it be the Justice Department going aggressively after the investigation of all of the people we've discussed, looking into the role of the FBI, and at the same time doing so with convened grand juries so that there can be indictments, so that we can move ahead with criminal cases, which is obviously not an option for Congress, so much as I know you from time to time might want to have that power.
Right.
Let me turn to tax reform. Are we going to get it?
I think so. The bill is supposed to come out tomorrow. The framework, I think, was the right kind of framework. It accomplishes the three main goals we've had as the Freedom Caucus. Does it cut taxes? Will it simplify the code? And will it produce economic growth? That should be the test. We're going to get the details tomorrow. Then let's start debating it, marking it up, and getting a tax package out there that's going to let American families keep more of their money.
Congressman, it is my sad duty to tell you what's being reported right now, whether correctly or otherwise, but Axios is reporting that the tax legislation will be delayed another day.
Oh, great.
Not coming out. All of us feel exactly that way until Thursday. We've just received that word.
Well, that's unfortunate, but it needs to happen here soon, because one of the agreements we had was if we're going to move ahead with this budget that many of us conservatives weren't enthused about, we wanted to see the tax bill moved up and so we could actually start debating it and get the tax legislation done. So let's hope that happens soon.